Election Road to the White House is an interactive family board game with a focus on America's greatest leaders. The game is for 2 to 5 players, ages 10 and up, and takes 30 to 60 minutes to play. New players can hop right in and learn the basics with just a 5-minute practice round. The object of the game is for players to move their token across the game board by winning a series of elections. Each election year, issues of the day are reviewed, candidates are nominated, political wildcards can be played, and special dice are rolled to determine votes. Candidates include former U.S. presidents and other influential politicians throughout nearly 250 years of American history. The game comes in a box that is plenty large enough to hold all of its components. For those looking for a deeper roster of historical figures, Election's second term is an expansion pack that provides additional candidates, wildcards, and the ability to compete with up to 8 players. Expansion components also fit in the original box. Once everything is taken out of the box, you'll find a game board, 5 election process cards with corresponding tokens, 59 election year cards, which is one for every election year in U.S. history, 74 presidential candidate cards, 30 public opinion wildcards, 30 red tape wildcards, a red tape reference sheet to help clear up any unusual scenarios that may pop up, and 12 dice with stickers that only take a few minutes to apply. Alright, so what do all these cards actually do? Election process cards help players track the order of play. These cards are optional and may be disregarded by experienced players who already know the election process. Election year cards document important issues for every election in U.S. history. The real-life election winners are also listed on these cards. Presidential candidate cards include presidents and other powerful politicians throughout U.S. history. Each card provides information on a candidate's highest held office and evaluative ratings on 5 key issues: morals, appeal, domestic affairs, foreign affairs, and economics. Candidates are graded on a 1 to 6 scale for each of the 5 attributes, with 1 being low and 6 being high. Additionally, 20 former presidents are awarded a special trademark bonus rating for their exceptional impact in American history. Candidates who actually served as president in real life are identified with white font, while non-presidents have their ratings detailed in yellow font. The 2 remaining types of cards can be considered wildcards, so we'll get to those in just a moment. Now for the dice. Players vote by rolling unique dice that are paired to candidate ratings. So what makes these dice different? Each die has a maximum value of the rating that it represents. For example, the green number 3 die has a maximum value of 3. That means if you roll it, you would have an outcome of 1, 2, or 3, but nothing higher. Likewise, the black number 5 die could result in a roll of 1 through 5, and so on. So how do players know which ratings to apply? Election year cards indicate 1 primary issue and up to 2 secondary issues that voters consider during each election. Candidates roll 2 dice for their primary issue rating. In our example, domestic affairs is the primary issue. Abraham Lincoln's domestic affairs rating is 6, so he is awarded 2 red number 6 dice. 1 die is rolled for each secondary issue. In this example, the only secondary issue is economics. Honest Abe's economic rating is 5, so he adds a black number 5 die to his roll. As mentioned earlier, some leaders have been awarded a special trademark bonus roll. Lincoln's trademark rating is 3. As a result, he is awarded an additional green number 3 die. Candidates who were actually elected president in real life during the contested year are awarded a bonus red number 6 die in their roll. And lastly, if the candidate was elected vice president during the real life election, a bonus green number 3 die is rolled. Lincoln was not elected president or vice president in 1820, so neither of these bonuses apply. Those dice will be rolled and counted, and then the total of those rolls will determine the votes received by the candidate. Got it all figured out? Maybe? Let's try a quick practice round to make sure that we got it. In our practice round, we'll observe 3 opponents who are creatively named Player 1, Player 2, and Player 3. Let's say that Player 1 represents the Democratic Party, so their blue election process card will be our guide as we get started. The first step is to randomly draw an election year card to be used for all players for the entire round. In our practice round, 1896 is flipped up, which appears to be a simple year with economics as the primary issue and no secondary issues. Step 2 is to nominate a candidate. In standard play, each player gets to nominate a candidate from 5 cards in their hand, but for this practice round, we'll just keep it simple and take a random card from the top of the deck. Bill Clinton is our lucky nominee. Step 3 in the election process is to roll dice and count votes. So let's pull up the guideline for determining which dice to roll. First, player 1 needs to identify Clinton's rating for the primary issue, which is economics. Much to player 1's delight, Clinton's rating for economics is a maximum of 6. As a result, 2 red number 6 dice are selected to be rolled. There are no secondary issues, and Clinton does not qualify for any of the bonus rolls, so he gets to use the 2 number 6 dice with a possible outcome ranging from 2 to 12. Clinton's somewhat unlucky roll adds up to just 5. Since he is the first person to roll, he is the current leader with 5 votes. Step 4 in the election process says to repeat the nomination and voting process for all players, so we'll move clockwise to player 2, who is representing the Republican Party. Player 2's candidate is former President James Madison, who never actually met Bill Clinton in real life, but will attempt to defeat him in this hypothetical, and some might argue more important, 1896 election. Madison's primary issue rating is 4, so 2 yellow number 4 dice will be rolled to represent his economics rating. There are no secondary issues to worry about, but Madison's work as a founding father have earned him a white number 1 trademark bonus die to add to his vote total. Madison's maximum roll is 9, and his minimum roll would be 3. After vigorously shaking and tossing the dice on the table, the roll comes out to total 7. As a result, Bill Clinton is bested by Madison, who once had a vice president named Clinton. No relation. Player 3's candidate is non-president Benjamin Franklin, who's taking a break from appearing on $100 bills to run for president in 1896 on the Democratic-Republican ticket, which is probably a sentence that has never been said before. Franklin's economics rating is 4, which is a bit of an unlucky break since this is his lowest rated category. In a normal game, player 3 may be better served to save Benny for an election year when there's a different primary issue and maybe 1 or 2 secondary issues. As it is, 2 yellow number 4 dice are to be rolled. The maximum outcome is 8 and the minimum is 2, so it's going to take some luck for B. Frank to catch up to Madison. In our pretend vote, Franklin's roll netted just 3 votes. Now that step 4 has been completed, step 5 instructs us to determine a winner. Madison's 7 votes leads all opposing candidates, so he wins the election of 1896 and has the honor of leading America into the 20th century. Had this been part of a normal round, player 2 would have advanced their token 7 spaces on the game board. For demonstration purposes, let's move player 2's token those 7 spaces for winning the previous election. Since player 2 landed on a red space, a red tape wildcard is drawn. More on those in just a moment. Now this is a fairly straightforward example. Most election years have 1 or more secondary issues, which add a lot more depth to the candidates. Additionally, those red tape and public opinion cards I keep mentioning, they're frequently used to keep players off guard. As it is, all cards played during the round are discarded. Unplayed cards are saved for future use. Each player then draws a new presidential candidate card to maintain 5 candidates in hand for the next round. The election process is repeated with new election year cards until a player's token lands on or passes the White House space on the game board. It wouldn't be an election without some mudslinging and dirty politics, so let's add some drama. Public opinion cards and red tape cards can be used to influence the election in a positive or usually negative manner. Public opinion cards are awarded whenever a player lands on a blue space on the game board, while red tape cards are earned when players land on a red space on the game board. Each player is also provided 1 of each card to start the game. Public opinion cards involve people or events that change candidate ratings for a full election cycle. A positive card increases 1 player's rating in that category. For example, a player with an economics rating of 3 could play JP Morgan to boost it up to 5. A negative public opinion card decreases all opponent ratings in that issue for the entire round. Playing Banker's Panic would reduce every opponent's economic rating by 2 for a whole election cycle. Red tape cards provide a variety of possibilities to influence an election. The red tape card reference sheet can be used to help clarify questions on how and when to play some of the more extreme political interactions. And there you have it. Election Road to the White House is quickly learned, has options to increase complexity and strategy, and will get family and friends talking with competitive interactions throughout the game. Side effects may include an interest in American history and some amusing observations. Some of our favorite out of context lines from playing this game include: why does Millard Fillmore look so much like Alec Baldwin? Is John Quincy Adams the inspiration for Ebenezer Scrooge? And I can't believe you assassinated Benjamin Franklin after he was endorsed by Davy Crockett. The base version of Election Road to the White House allows up to 5 players a generous supply of candidates and wildcards. Players will find the game interactive, addicting, and highly variable. An expansion pack, Election Second Term, is also available to provide an even larger catalog of wildcards and historical figures which date all the way back to the 1600s. Additionally, the expansion provides the ability for up to 8 players to compete for America's highest held office. Players in search for a more in-depth strategy game can also check out Election Swing States, which builds on its predecessor by expanding gameplay to include the Electoral College, debates, a campaign budget, and more. Search for Election Road to the White House and its expansions on the GameCrafter website, www.thegamecrafter.com. Thanks for watching, and happy politicking!